why are you excited to be here tonight?
Because I'm just excited.
Yeah. No other explanation. Now, I do believe, tell me the truth, is it true that your dad has a ringside seat but didn't get you guys ringside seats?
That is true, but it's because of his YouTube channel, okay? It's his YouTube, okay?
Her dad's an influencer. Let him go, guys. But your dad's awesome, right?
Yeah.
See, he's awesome. Yeah! Give it up for Claire. Thank you so much, Claire. High five. Yeah.
If it wasn't discrimination. And you have the nerve, no, you have the nerve to sit there on your high horse and preach to these bottom-feeding dwellers who sit in the chat room, like Alliance Blog, who's been doing this for over a decade and still only got 2,000 followers. Yeah, I see you, you're a jabroni and a ham sandwich, and I don't want to hear from you ever again. About what the NWA is supposed to do. This is what pro wrestling is supposed to be. This is what the NWA is supposed to be. No. You don't tell anyone what the NWA is supposed to be, and you certainly don't lecture me about what the NWA is supposed to be. I made the NWA.
It's party time! So, what day is it today?
Tuesday?
Wrong. It's NWA Day.
They want NWA? Let's give them NWA.
I was thinking that it might be a good idea if you and I formed an alliance.
Let's get ready to rumble! Attention, everyone.
Welcome to the greatest wrestling program in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? Stop what you're doing and listen.
Okay, let's party.
It's the pre-party with J. Cal.
Here's the story now. If I see Kevin Owens, or even someone who looks like Kevin Owens, I drop them on sight.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. This is the pre-party, and it's a solo show. But today, I'm bringing in my buddy, my pal, my friend, my confidant, the guy that got hit by 2 chairs on Saturday night, when all we were trying to do was help out the nice people of San Diego, of Chula Vista, Baja, stars of Lucha Libre. Soto, what happened, man? What happened?
What's up, buddy? Thanks for having me. Yeah, we'll just dive right into it, I guess. We got our asses beat. Can I say that?
I think so. I think you're all right with saying
okay. We got beat down, man. Actually, I have some souvenirs, I guess. But this is the chair that swung towards my head twice. But yeah, it was a fun night overall. I mean, I still am bumped and bruised on my elbows and on my pinkies, but we're standing and breathing. That's all that matters. We're here.
They can't take that away from us. And like the thing about all of this too is, and I want everyone to know this with no uncertainty, like these guys weren't just local indie wrestlers. Like this wasn't the guy who's been training for the last year or two. These are Lucha Libre Tijuana legends, guys that you and I have watched multiple times, be it the Crash or Lucha Libre AAA down at the Auditorium de Tijuana. These are guys who we've seen in the ring with some of our favorites. El Hijo de Rey Mysterio, I've seen him wrestle in matches with Danny Limelight, but I've also seen him wrestle in matches with Mecha Wolf, with Bestia 666. I mean, he's a pretty legit dude down in Mexico. DMT Azul, Deluxe, all of these guys. Halloween, these aren't just basic, Baja luchadors. I mean, these are kind of legit draws in Tijuana and in SoCal. How do you feel about knowing that you took the best that they could get from two Lucha Libre icons from Tijuana?
I think it's a memory we'll never forget. That's for sure. But yeah, it was an experience of a lifetime. I mean, who else can say they got into the ring with a Mysterio and 3 other Lucha Libre legends and get hit in the head and with the chair twice? I mean, you got hit in the head by DMT Azul.
DMT Azul, and that's a guy who I've been watching for such a long time. It was very surreal. You got hit in the head by El Hijo de Rey Mysterio, a guy who was throwing beers at us back in TJ back in February. So it's been a pretty wild time. But for anyone who's watching, I have video.
Oh, which one are you gonna play? We have so many point of views.
I'll the first one I'm going to show is the point of view. It was someone else's point of view because that one showed me better. The other one shows you better. But all right, guys. So for the first time right here on the Alliance blog. I did not know that you got hit by a chair the first time. When we went out there, I didn't know you. I saw the second one. I got hit. I went down, and I heard the crowd pop. And I'm like, what the hell is this, man? The fans are cheering for me getting popped. And then Deluxe and DMT started stomping on me. And that's all I knew what was going on. And then I roll out of the ring. And I see you, poor Soto, never hurt anybody in his life, sitting there near lifelessness, and they ripped your shirt. They pulled you back up onto your feet just for Halloween to hit you again. I have video of that. Do you want to see it?
Yeah, can I show the shirt real quick?
Yeah, show the shirt.
So I kept the shirt.
Yeah, like that's... They straight up ripped the shirt.
Yeah.
All right. So here it is. This was the camera angle that our friend actually shot of us going to the ring. And so without any further ado. Brother, they were tossing your hat around. I saw them, parts of your shirt were flying in the audience. It was such a surreal experience. And I remember sitting there going, baby, what you doing in the ring? You got to get out of there. What you doing?
I tried, bro. I tried rolling. So mind you, none of these chair shots were talked about prior to us jumping into this ring. It was supposed to be what you took. I was supposed to take the exact same right hand hook to the head, roll out the ring. That was the job. That's what I signed up for. There was never no chairs in the discussion. They were never brought up. It just happened. So in the first swing, because we're all big wrestling fans here, in the first swing, I don't have my hands up, and it goes straight for the dome. I take it straight to the head. I fall down because it was real. It was real as can be, and it hurt. It hurt a lot. I honestly thought I was busted open. When I'm laying there in the first shot, I'm actually rubbing my head, and that's under my hat. And that's why he grabs my hat, because he sees my hat's coming off and he throws it out the ring. Thankfully, wasn't busted open, but I wasn't expecting a second chair shot after the first one. But it still happened. So,
yeah,
Took it like a champ, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like again, no hard feelings, right? Like we're still good with these guys, right? Like I mean, they signed the chair for you kindly enough, and
yeah, man. And we got our mind you, this was my first sponsored event, so my logo was actually on the poster. Sorry. Yeah,
No.
okay, cool. Yeah, so my logo was actually on the poster right down here. But yeah, this was my first sponsored event, and to be in the main event with these 4 guys in the ring was insane. To be included, this was a memory for sure that I will never forget.
And the cool thing is we did it together. The SoCal strong side SoCal connection. We did it, man. We popped in that ring. I don't know that I ever need to get in the ring again, but you know, the cool thing is like we all grew up wrestling fans. Like anyone who's talking about wrestling today, anyone who's seen the chat, you know, we've all grew up watching this. We all grown up loving wrestling, and you know, it was kind of cool because I made peace a long time ago that I would never be a pro wrestler, that I would never take a bump or anything like that. And then this opportunity happened very organically. I came down to San Diego just to do a few Kevin Owens segments. Like half the afternoon, I was dressed as Kevin Owens while walking around inside the venue and having the luchadores say, "Oh, it's Kevincito," you know, and stuff like that. It was pretty awesome. One of the highest compliments I think I could take from all this is DMT. One of the referees was talking to DMT after the match and was like, "Yeah, man, Kevin Owens over there sold like a champ." And he goes, "Yeah, the guy did great." And he was speaking in Spanish, so I was only picking up a few of the words. So he might have said a few other things that were not as kind, but it sounded nice. And then he asked the referee if I was a wrestler. And I was like, no, just a fan. And he was shocked when they said it to him in Spanish. And I was like, that's a freaking compliment, because, you know, we're going to break down the wall just a little bit. I've never worked. I've never been trained. I've never been trained to take a bump, but I was able to do something that looked pretty realistic in the ring. And look, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that it felt great. Like, no, I'm still hurting 3 days later, but it was pretty freaking rad to do that. And so shout out to Baja Stars. Shout out to Henry. Of course, shout out to you, Soto, because that connection, without you, I wouldn't have been in that ring. So that was really cool. So thank you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming through. Everything was last minute and on the fly. Even just getting into the ring, I didn't know the entire direction of what was going down, but it was still fun. I lost a shirt, unfortunately, but I did gain a new one, and I haven't worn it yet, but I did get a new shirt.
Yeah, man. That's a comfy shirt too.
Yeah, I still gotta wear it. I just literally took it out the bag.
And if it gets ripped, I know a guy that gets you a new one, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for coming through again.
Yeah, man. So do you want to hang out with me while I'm talking NWA?
I'll listen in. I'll hang out.
All right.
In the chat.
Then I'm gonna boot you out of here. See you later, pal.
Good. Thanks, guys, for having me. I'm Soto619. I'll see you guys at the next one.
And follow him on YouTube, TikTok, social medias, Instagrams.
But a lot of you guys don't like WWE content, so
just a few of them. All right, see you later.
Stuff too, Lucha Libre content.
Yeah, Lucha mucho. When is that interview coming out?
Soon. Jay already got the preview.
Interview with
Commander.
Yeah, Commander. All right, brother. I'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks.
Soto619. That's my partner right there. And that was a pretty surreal experience. Again, like everything he said was accurate. They didn't tell him anything about chair shots. They didn't say anything about that. They didn't tell me anything about when I rolled down there, we were just two dudes taking videos, making some content. Soto was filming some of the matches that I'm sure will be up on YouTube at some point on his channel, Soto619 Wrestling. Make sure you give them a follow. Soto's channel is also part of our co-conspirators, along with Turnbuckle and Iconic Heroes of Wrestling Excellence and Dog Pro Wrestling. Soto's right down there too. So make sure you, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to his channel. If you don't like WWE content, you probably won't like his channel, but he does also put up Lucha Libre stuff as well. I wanted to share that, guys, because it was such a fun experience. Again, I don't think it'll happen again for your boy Jay, but it was a bucket list item, and I'm happy to share it with you guys because it was a really cool experience. And it was funny because driving home, it was like almost 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, oh man, I want to tell everybody what I just did, but everyone's asleep. So anyway, so we're going to go back to regular format now. We're going to talk NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance. Of course, we're marching towards the August 16th, which by my calculations is this Saturday. The NWA 77th anniversary show is this Saturday. And I don't know, man. I'm concerned about the NWA for this walk-up event. I'm hoping that there will be a lot of surprise ticket sales at the last minute because this doesn't look like a huge draw for them in the Long Island area in New York. But we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Of course, we'll talk about this week's Power, which emanated from the ECW Arena, 2300 and Slauson Avenue in Philadelphia, that world-famous bingo hall. But before we get to even that, Willie Bowen has our joke for the day. It's J. Cal. Did you hear that? The news that Rolando Freeman will be playing Tattoo in the reboot of the TV series Fantasy Island? Tyrus will be the island. Okay, Willie. Redemption, sir. Nicely done. Nicely done, Willie. That one made me laugh. Noob, thanks for hanging out. I'm doing good, man. Like I said, the neck's a little sore. Now I feel more like Kevin Owens because I got that sore neck, but it was a fun weekend. Impact 88, what is going on? Hope everyone's having a good week. What do you think is going to be the best match of the show tonight? Well, I was there. I was there to watch the show. I was there live. And in reality, you could watch the show right now. You don't even have to wait till 8. Roku has been dropping these episodes on demand at 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. So when you wake up on Tuesdays, you could watch Power. You don't have to wait for it to debut on Roku Sports, although I'm sure that's what the NWA would prefer you to do. But you could still watch the NWA on demand. It's available now. You wait till this show's over, then go watch it. Watch this show first. But yeah, it's available to watch. Riley, how you doing, man? Yeah, that was pretty sick. It was something that I never thought that would happen. And that's the weird thing. I never thought that would happen. And it was, it was kind of funny because we were joking around in the back, Soto and I. And again, I was dressed like Kevin Owens. If you guys saw the YouTube channel, I put up the video of me taping my fist. I joked around with him and I said, hey, if they have a battle royal, I'll tell them I'll be like, the Kevin Owens that they can call me Kevin Cito Owens and I'll jump in the ring. They can eliminate me. It'll be funny. Those were jokes, man. I didn't think that would ever be happening. And I was walking around there in my KO t-shirt and a lot of the referees and some of the talent were like, oh, it's Kevin Owens. And then I got to get in the ring. So it was pretty surreal experience. Triple Mania. Why did I say it like that? Triple Mania is this Saturday too. Oh man, I forgot about that. Triple Mania is this Saturday. I'll have to watch the in demand, I think. Yeah, Triple Mania this Saturday, and this is kind of like we are getting towards the end of the line with AAA being a separate entity from the WWE. AAA obviously were at WrestleMania. It was announced that AAA would be sold to the WWE. I believe the purchase finalizes in the third quarter, which I think is right about now. So we'll see what happens, but that's a big thing. That's a big thing. Rib Shot. Unfortunately, outside of North America, Roku Sports does not broadcast the NWA. So you can only watch the NWA on Roku in the United States. Now, obviously, if you have a VPN, there are ways around that. A little bit more detailed information that I do not have to share, but I'm sure you can look that up if you're really interested in watching the NWA. Plus, they do still feature some of the matches on their YouTube channel. You can check those out, youtube.com/NWA. They do their matches every they post matches all the time on their YouTube channel. This past weekend, they did a full 3-hour show from Exodus Pro. The entire event was part of a live event for the NWA that's available on the YouTube channel. And Soto says, AAA equals WWE NXT Mexico. I absolutely hate the fact that you said that, Soto. Oh, I will forever miss AAA as a independent entity from the WWE. I'm not saying that there isn't some cool things that will happen because of this relationship, this ownership change, but man, a lot of the magic will be gone when WWE's acquisition is finally together. Steve G says, hello, Tonga Twins. Yeah, the Tonga Twins we got from WoW. Now, I know, I will say this. I know that they had left WoW after being tag team champions. They're no longer in Women of Wrestling. And Tiffany Nieves' tag team partner as well, Valentina Rossi, also is a member of the WoW roster. So it's kind of interesting how we're seeing some WoW talent kind of matriculate into the NWA. In the past, we saw Haley J. We also saw, former NWA Women's Champion, I can't think of her name, Santana. What was her name? Anyways, I can't think of her name right now. But she also had made an appearance. She was at the 77th anniversary show. And come on, sign Via Van. So Via Van is technically under contract with AEW, I believe. AEW Ring of Honor. Patrick Moore said, hi, I'm new to the NWA Power, but been watching the territories. What's the best approach to enjoying NWA, even though they are behind in the timeline compared to the territories? Is there any continuity? Thank you, Steve G. Santana Garrett. I could not get that name. I don't know why. Patrick, unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, because the turnaround time currently for TV tapings to actual air dates of the shows is about 2 to 3 months. Remember, the matches we're watching now from the ECW Arena, the 2300, those were filmed back in late May, early June. It is now August. Almost a 3-month delay. 2.5 months. And it doesn't seem like that's going to change at all, because once we get through Crockett Cup, which I believe there's at least 2 more, maybe 3 more episodes, then we're going to be into will be a TV taping in Tampa, and then 77, which is filming in August, will probably not be seen until closer to October. So there is no real delineation. There's no coordination. There is no connective tissue there between the NWA territories and Power. What you see on the territories, they film it, they produce it, and they air it as soon as they can. Power is not like that. Excuse me. When will we see Kenzie versus Natty match on Power? I mean, that's the other $50 million question. That would be the first match, or at least the main event match of the first episode. If I was booking the National Wrestling Alliance, that would have been where I put that match. Would have been the first main event on the Roku Sports app. That didn't happen. Then you think, well, clearly the second match has to be that match. Nope. And we know next week it won't be featured. So that'll either be the main event for the 4th week of taping, or be included with the episode that features the World's Heavyweight title. To me, that should have been the first match that aired on Roku. That would have very much set the table for the NWA and its fans, and it would have set a precedent. I don't know that anything would have been more fever-pitched than having Kenzie and Natty. The match went hard, guys, and it was such a good match. And I just feel like it's the Roku audience, the NWA audience at large, anyone that wasn't at the 2300, I mean, that was the match people were talking about leading up to this event. And I will say this with no hyperbole at all. I was going to skip the Crockett Cup this year. I was going to just say, you know what, I'll catch the next one. But because they booked Natty versus Kenzie, I said, I want to see that match live. That was the decision-making process for me to go to the Crockett Cup in 2025. Now, I'm glad I went, and I had a great time, and I thought the show was awesome, but that was the deciding factor. And I know I wasn't alone. I know a lot of people wanted to see that match. There was tons of people who wanted to see that match. And you'd go to Reddit, you'd go to Discord. How can I see it? When can I see it? And they still haven't aired this match 2 months after the fact, 3 months after the fact. And I think it's crazy to me that they didn't do a better job of cycling the matches around and making it fit where this should have been the big moment for the NWA. This should have been the debut on Roku. Well, that's sad news. Viva can join all the other ladies buried or raw jobbing for Monet and Storm. It's kind of what's happening, isn't it? The beauty of it is she could still work independent dates, but I just think NWA is probably not going to be it for her. That's another interesting question. Is Big Mama still with the NWA? We don't really know. No one has seen Big Mama. Now, when I interviewed Mama back in, I guess it was in April, we ultimately expected Big Mama to return to the NWA. She expected to be back in the NWA, but I don't think that she's been booked she wasn't in Tampa. I don't think she's booked for 77. So it's a shame. But they never used her correctly anyway. You know, they put a TV title on Big Mama when they never even showed that match on television. They didn't give her one defense on Power until it was time to lose the title. So it was like, what was the point? And her only match on Power after winning the Women's World Television title was to have her lose the tag or win the tag titles and subsequently lose the tag titles before she even defended the TV title. Patrick asks, what would the NWA need to do to get faster turnaround from tapings? Well, like it's simply this. They have chosen to delay their tapings to maximize the content that they've already filmed. Now, if they wanted to just fast forward and get there, they'd either drop some of those TV tapings that are in between the Crockett Cup and the 77th anniversary show and just go straight to the anniversary show shortly after it's filmed. However, I'm pretty confident that's not going to be the case. A lot of what happened at those TV tapings in Tampa will set up what's going to happen for the anniversary show. And if they really wanted to get fast forward to the important parts, they would just do that. Let's trim some of those matches down. Let's tell the stories that need to be told and push these out quicker, faster to get to the anniversary show. The problem is the NWA, when they first landed on the CW platform, decided to end their signature live events as pay-per-views. So now all the premium NWA events are called signature live events, but are still essentially TV tapings. If they had a dedicated outlet for their TV tapings, Power, that should be it. And every single episode of Power should be filmed in Tampa at the PBS studios, and that should be their weekly television. And they should be filming once a month there. Boom. And then when it comes to your signature live events, these should be filmed for premium consumption, whether it be a pay-per-view model or a membership model or on Triller as part of Triller Plus. Whatever it is that they do, this is where they should be charging folks for these opportunities. So I don't know what's going to happen next. I really don't know with the NWA, but they 100% should be featuring these events much, much quicker. Yeah, Big Mama is in UWN. But let's not forget, she's a former NWA Women's World Tag Team Champion and NWA Women's World Television Champion. Steve G asking some good questions here. J. Cal, do you know, is Danny Limelight still in the United Wrestling Network? That's an excellent question, and I don't really know how to answer that. I don't think he's gone anywhere. I don't think he's been fired or anything, but I don't know what's next for him. after losing the world title after such a long run, it's okay for him to disappear for a bit. In fact, he should disappear for a bit. But at some point, unless he gets signed somewhere, he should come back. And so, all of that to say, what's next for Danny Limelight? Not entirely sure. Not entirely sure. We know that he just won the Sorry, that he just won the Reality of Wrestling Raw. He just won their heavyweight championship recently, beating Zilla Fatu for that title when he cashed in his opportunity. So he is back being a champion for a WWE ID affiliated promotion, which means more eyeballs from the WWE are going to be on Danny Limelight. If that means an opportunity for Danny Limelight joining the WWE roster, that's a very real possibility. Patrick says, I heard they had problems with piracy with the pay-per-views. I don't know if it was piracy. I just don't think they had sold very many pay-per-views. We got to understand, and we have to be realistic. And so I'm going to take everything I said back and put some context on it. At the end of the day, what is the National Wrestling Alliance? Now, a lot of us still say the NWA is the pinnacle of pro wrestling. The history, the tradition, and the legacy of the NWA is a hallmark for, in my mind, what pro wrestling should be. But if we're going to be honest with ourselves, the NWA is essentially a part-time wrestling promotion. Although they've run multiple events this year, some of them televised, some of them not, they're mostly running one event a month. Mostly. Sometimes two. Mostly one event a month. The expectation is that they're trying to compete with the WWE, that they're trying to compete with AEW. But the fact of the matter is they're not even competing with MLW at this point. If we're just being completely honest here, what the NWA is today is a part-time wrestling promotion. So we can have these grandiose ideas for Billy and saying, hey, Billy, you need to do this. And hey, Billy, you need to do that. But at the end of the day, they're not there. I think one of the numbers that I heard for 76 is that they sold like 50 pay-per-views or something like that. Or maybe that wasn't 76. Maybe that was 75. Not a big number. Not a big number. And all of that to tell me that, having had discussions with those who produce pro wrestling for television and knowing that those trucks, those production trucks are about $100,000 to use, to rent. Are you kidding me? So in producing a live event, we're talking catering for the talent. We're talking the venue. We're talking the talent itself, the rings, the referees, everything. And you're spending upwards of $100,000. These signature live events aren't returning that $100,000. They might be getting $10,000. They might be getting $5,000. So I can understand with no uncertainty that maybe that is not the right direction for the NWA to go, especially because the promotion is self-financed. This is Billy Corgan. This is his fun money. This is his side thing. He is the lead singer of Smashing Pumpkins. That's what pays his bills. That's what made him a superstar. That's what made him rich. He's got Madame Zuzu, his coffee tea shop in Chicago and Highland Park. He's Swan and Billy Corgan's solo act and the NWA. And the NWA is cool. And we enjoy the NWA, but you got to remember, this is like 4th or 5th on his list of priorities. I'm sure after Smashing Pumpkins, I'm sure being a dad and a husband is pretty important to him. So think about that. And we have all these expectations, but honestly, why? Why would he do that? So that's just what I'm saying. Patrick, 100%. Same here. Like I am very much a big NWA fan, but I'm a very realistic NWA fan. And as much as I want the NWA to succeed, I mean, look at this, man. Like, look, I've got a world heavyweight title. I've got the British Commonwealth title. I have a TV title right here. I've been talking and preaching and podcasting about the National Wrestling Alliance for the better part of my adult life. My daughter's about to be 21. I've been doing this for 18 years. So I 100% understand what you guys are saying. Like, yeah, man, I want it to be better too. I do. But we have to be honest with ourselves. They aren't there yet. Billy is working on it. He's trying. And this Roku Sports, to me, is a step in the right positive direction. Now you're getting paid for your content in a way that you weren't probably getting paid on X, probably not getting paid on YouTube. And not that the numbers are that important to me. Like, I don't care how much money Billy Corgan's making with the NWA, as long as we're still getting good NWA. If TK knew what the F he was doing with the women's roster, Gambino could be a major star for him. Gambino, I don't think Gambino is long for the NWA. I hope she sticks around for a while. I love the pairing of Gambino and Valentina Rossi, not Gambino, not Adriana Gambino, but Valentina Rossi and Tiffany Nieves. I feel like they're a great tag team and have a huge upside, and I want to see them have a real run with those titles and bring in some real competition for them. With that being said, yeah, I think that was a great pickup for the NWA, and as long as she's around, I hope they utilize her to her fullest potential. Ribshot said, last I saw or heard of the NWA, Matt Cardona was the champion. Have they got any big names these days? And I saw that Wiccan pointed out, what's your definition of big name? That's a good point. Now we know from this last premium live event, they were able to work out a deal with the WWE to use Natty Neidhart. So Natty Neidhart, Natalia, Brett's niece, will be a part of this Crockett Cup that's on Roku Sports right now. That's a pretty big get. And I don't think anybody they've used has a bigger name than that. They also had Rhino as part of the main event for this event. Rhino, former ECW world champion, former NWA world champion, former, I don't know what titles I guess like tag team champions in the WWE. A pretty central part of the TNA roster at times. So that's a pretty big name. They also had Hammerstone at this event in Philly. Hammerstone takes on Silas Mason in one of the main event matches, I'm sure, for the Crockett Cup. And again, Hammerstone is a pretty big name too. But it's all relative. Like, a lot of people don't even know who Hammerstone is. So again, I would classify that as a big name, but some people wouldn't. Again, Megan Bain, who's currently a part of the AEW roster, I wouldn't expect her to show up in the NWA anytime soon either. Vincent, what's going on, man? I always thought that it's funny that none of his rock and roll buddies don't ever get involved with it. I mean, like, to an extent, some of them think it's dork behavior. They're like, that's beneath you, Billy. What are you doing? But, this is what Billy's passionate about. Similarly to like what you're passionate about. We all love wrestling. That's why we're here. And, Billy just has a bigger bank account and he can run a wrestling show. I mean, I'll be honest, if I had Billy money, I'd probably be running a wrestling promotion too. And I'd probably have the same pitfalls that Billy has. Oh man, I could spend $10,000 a month and do this, or I could spend $5,000 a month and do this. What is that extra money going to get me a month? What do I get with this? Oh, nothing? Okay, I'll keep spending as little as I need to. Hammerstone versus Latimer for the world title. That doesn't happen this week. It doesn't happen at the next Signature Live event. So maybe down the road, but not now. Patrick Moore going into the Great Abyss. Who was better for the NWA? Howard Brody, Robert Tropich, Bruce Tharp, or Billy Corgan? That is very subjective. Steve G says you left off Dave Marquez. We classify Dave Marquez in that Bob Trowbridge era. Dave Marquez was in the era of Bob Trowbridge very much. But going back to this, I mean, there was only one time, there's two times where the NWA was facing extinction, right? So in 1993, WCW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, exit the National Wrestling Alliance. In 1993, Don Owens closes the Portland territory, one of the biggest NWA territories at the time. And I think it was, I want to say maybe 93, maybe it was 92. CMLL also leaves the NWA. Those are 4 pretty big deals to leave the National Wrestling Alliance. And at that point, without those territories, the NWA becomes a shell of what it used to be. Dennis Corluzzo still continues to promote the NWA name. Jim Crockett Jr. opens up shop in Dallas in 94 and starts doing NWA Dallas. And then you have Steve Ricklin in New Zealand, who isn't really doing pro wrestling at this point, but just kind of the figurehead for the NWA. And Howard Brody comes in, and before the end of, I think 1997, maybe 98, memory serves me, 98, we bring Dan the Beast Severn into the National Wrestling Alliance as its world champion. Actually, he wins the title going back to like 94. I think he won the title in 94, maybe 95. I'm sorry, my memory's not great. But Severn is the world's heavyweight champion in 98. The WWE and the NWA have a working agreement for a short time that features talents like Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson, the Rock and Roll Express, Jim Cornette managing the NWA wrestlers. Jeff Jarrett is your NWA North American champion. You get those titles on television. You get JBL and Jarrett wrestling for the title, Barry Windham wrestling for the title, and eventually Dan Severn with the 10 pounds of gold on Raw. Howard Brody made that happen. Howard Brody and Dennis Corluzzo. We don't have the NWA today if that doesn't happen. At that point, you had Corluzzo promoting the NWA, and that's about it. You had, Brody started to get back into promoting wrestling down in Florida, but after Severn appears on Raw with the 10 pounds of gold, you get promoters all over the country wanting to join the NWA. You got Ed Schumann in the Midwest. You've got Ken Taylor in Texas. You've got Joe Price in Florida, and all the members start coming back to the NWA. And it's basically that it stays alive. So all of that said, Patrick, the NWA is facing extinction. Howard Brody kept it alive. Robert Trowbridge carried that torch for a while. Robert Trowbridge brought the NWA to TNA to that agreement, and that helped keep the brand alive and thriving for some time, which put the title on AJ Styles, Jeff Jarrett, Ron Killings. I mean, under the Trowbridge era, we had two runs with Ron Killings as world's heavyweight champion. He was the first African-American NWA world's heavyweight champion. Did it twice. Should have been Monty Brown as well, but I digress. But that relationship happens under the Trowbridge era. Well, I guess technically that was not Trowbridge's era, but became Trowbridge's era. And then under Trowbridge, you had Dave Marquez, who started promoting the territories, doing small arena shows all through the Panhandle, from Florida to Arizona, all those southern states, the Southwest and the Southeast. We had lots of shows in Texas featuring the 10 pounds of gold, featuring rivalries in the NWA, the tag team titles. And again, that doesn't happen unless Trowbridge is in charge of that era. So it kept the NWA alive for that. And then Bruce Tharp wins the NWA brand through a lawsuit and brings the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship to New Japan Pro Wrestling, where we see Rob Conway defend that title at Wrestle Kingdom. That's a pretty big deal for the NWA, and it's never been on a higher platform than that. It got close with Nick Aldis defending the title against Cody at All In, but this was Rob Conway defending the 10 pounds of gold against Kojima at Wrestle Kingdom was probably one of the bigger things to happen for the NWA. So, that the NWA would have survived without Bruce Tharp. The NWA would have survived without Robert Trowbridge. But it wouldn't have survived without Howard Brody. And you could also make a case that maybe if Billy Corgan didn't step in and buy the NWA when he did, that it would have continued to go south for the National Wrestling Alliance. And perhaps someone would have come in, outside of the U.S. and bought the NWA. Perhaps another wrestling company would have bought the NWA. But Trobich was looking to sell for a very long time into that final year of his running the NWA. So I guess he was important too. Does Billy Corgan count the NWA TNA era NWA champions? I mean, yeah, he focuses just like everyone else. He focuses on like the core names, right? He wants to mention Dusty Rhodes. He wants to mention Ric Flair. He wants to mention Lou Thez. Like, they're not bringing up the fact that Raven held the title or that Rhino held the title. Although, I mean, when the storyline is worth mentioning, they've mentioned Steve Corino being world's heavyweight champion, and Rhino and Raven, who have both appeared on NWA programming over the years. But it's not like they lead with AJ Styles being the world's heavyweight champion or Ron Killings being the world's heavyweight champion, only when it serves whatever narrative that they're speaking of. They've mentioned Adam Pearce as being world's heavyweight champion, but they don't go into a lot of detail about his run as world's heavyweight champion. To Patrick's point, Dave Marquez never was a president of the NWA. He never ran the NWA, but his voice was one of the loudest of the board of directors back when Bob Trobich was running the NWA. So, someone that people would go out of their way to see, Cardona has a fan base that would have watched the NWA for the first time because of him. Hammerstone is great, but not well known. And I would say that Cardona, Cardona does have a base, but I don't feel like that base came with him to the NWA. When he won the world title, I don't feel like a lot of Cardona's fans were all of a sudden in the NWA. And let's be honest, when Cardona was world's heavyweight champion, he was still spinning plates for a lot of other promotions, GCW. Like, he did this whole thing with GCW before debuting in the NWA, and then he was still working with TNA Wrestling. And in fact, when he was on TNA programming, he wasn't holding the 10 pounds of gold, but he was the world's heavyweight champion. He was holding the TNA Digital Media Championship, which I don't even know what a digital media title represents, but that's what he was holding on to when he was the NWA World Champion. And let's not forget, he was injured wrestling GCW in a non-NWA match. And so he had to relinquish his title, although he's lost title matches since, he never was defeated for the title. He had to forfeit. I very much liked the NWA North American title. I liked the design that was used when Jeff Jarrett held it, but also that was kind of, to me, like, that was I love that title design, and it was one of those "it's so ugly, it's beautiful" type things. I miss that one. Brody and Trobich were the best promoters. Well, Trobich wasn't a promoter. You got to take that out the window. Trobich was an attorney. Trobich was the president, not because he was a good promoter, but because he knew where the bodies were buried, essentially. Willie, they never legitimately counted Bobo Brazil as the first Black American NWA World Heavyweight Champion. He won the title and then relinquished it because there was that inadvertent growing shot. And, they could always retcon that. They've done stuff similar to that in the past. That's something they've never retconned. It's always been Ron Killings. Bobo Brazil probably should have been world's heavyweight champion. In 1962, the NWA would have been very progressive to have put a title on a wrestler who was African American, but they didn't choose to do that. And I don't want to acknowledge something that they didn't do or even try to do. There was a storyline. It was a work to get people excited, to get people fired up. It did its job, but that's not something that the NWA later was like, oh yeah, we recognize that title run. They never recognized it. He was a World Wrestling All-Stars world champion. And again, that was very progressive for the WWA to do that. I said World Wrestling All-Stars, World Wrestling Association, but that was never acknowledged by the NWA as an actual title change. All that to say, we've got 10 minutes left of the show. We didn't even talk about this week's Power, so let's do that right now. Of course, Power will be airing on Roku Sports at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on the Roku Sports channel. I was there for these TV tapings, and I will tell you that this was some of the best NWA content I've seen in years. This week, we get the pairings of, you've got TVMA defending the NWA Women's World Tag Team titles against the Tonga Twins. Like I mentioned earlier, the Tonga Twins have made their name working for women of wrestling. They were also trained under Rikishi as part of that Samoan dynasty. So there are ties to them and the Samoan dynasty that we see on WWE programming through Rikishi. All that being said, they take on the talented TVMA, Tiffany Nieves, Valentina Rossi, managed by Miss Star. And it was a pretty good match. And like I said, when you watch this one, understand that TVMA is pretty solid. I'd like to see them have more matches really, really soon. This was the first time they defended the titles, and I think they did an excellent job. They have a very good look for a tag team. I like my tag team wrestlers to try to have this similar appearance, whether it be the same, trunks, the same outfit, and they do a pretty good job. So this one was aesthetically pleasing to my eyes, but also they had a really good match. With the Tonga Twins, probably better than what I was expecting when I was there live. We also have the Southern Six. Well, I guess we should go to the Immortals. That's Kratos and Odinson taking on the team of the Slime Balls. Slime Balls have been on a roll at Crockett Cup. Of course, they won the Battle Royal to gain entry into the Crockett Cup, and then they defeated the Blunt Force Trauma, the biggest upset in the Cup, I think. So they've been on a roll, taking on the Immortals, who have been chasing those World Tag Team titles, still have come up short. They're former 2-time U.S. Tag Team champions. So both teams definitely in the hunt for the Crockett Cup. And on the other flip side, we have the U.S. Tag Team champions, the Southern Six, Alex Taylor, Kerry Morton, taking on the team of EC3, former World Heavyweight Champion, and taking on the PB Smooth, former NWA Midwest Champion. So clearly these are some big stake matches for the Crockett Cup. It's a Tag Team Tuesday here for NWA Power, and I think you're going to really enjoy these matches. I was very impressed by what I saw from all of the combatants and the Crockett Cup, and like I said, I really felt like this NWA show, more than some of the other ones, really puts its best foot forward, and I really think that if you're a fan of tag team wrestling, this is the episode you want to watch. Tonga Twins are the daughters of the Tonga Kid. Have you sourced that, Willie? Because I don't know if that's true or not. I'm going to double check. And that's no disrespect, Willie. I just don't know if they're actually the daughters. Yeah, I don't think they're the actual daughters. And they were trained by Rikishi and Black Pearl at the Knox Pro Academy, which is also now part of the WWE ID program as well. But yeah, unfortunately, no, I don't think that they are related to the Tonga Kid. At least not, it's not something that they've publicly talked about, at least as far as I can tell. I could be wrong. But I think that's going to do it for us this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed hearing about my first foray into a pro wrestling ring, the chair shot for my pal Soto. It was a fun time, and I do appreciate you guys hanging out with me on this Tuesday. We'll be back on Thursday to talk all things National Wrestling Alliance with the Alliance Guys podcast. Join Rick, DKM, and Jaden and myself as we will go through this week's Power and preview the 77th anniversary show, which is, again, this Saturday. So thank you so much for hanging out with me this week. And until next time, we'll see you at the matches.
Thanks for checking out the pre-party, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. You should hit that subscribe button and join our community. I also want to remind you that we recap NWA Power every Thursday at 8 p.m. in the live stream. We try to stay social, so find us at the Alliance blog. And until next time, we are